Alright, it's Tuesday. Armbrust Pro Gym. Shoulders and arms. Going to start off today with the standing lateral raise machine. In typical fashion, I'm alternating left and right, which I prefer for most side lateral exercises.
Make sure your elbows are under your hands if you can.
Starting to get into work sets here. I'm always careful to make sure that this weight isn't too heavy on this exercise so that I'm able to finish these side lateral reps. Making sure that my elbow and my upper arm comes up high enough to be able to get a full contraction, full range of motion. I'm a big range of motion guy. I would much rather dig into a muscle with proper technique than I would to try to cheat out a few extra reps on a weight that just doesn't feel right. This Atlantis side lateral machine is quite a unique piece, difficult to find, but it's been at Armbrust since I think the first days of Armbrust. Still relatively full from the skip load on Sunday. This being Tuesday, I've lost a little bit of fullness, but more importantly, I've dropped quite a bit of water from the day before too. For the record, Mrs. Skip doesn't alternate anything. Ever. She's going to do both sides at the same time, no matter what. I'm sure I'll get somebody to bust on me for the stocking hat thing. It's something that I've done since switching over from baseball hats because baseball hats just don't stay in place. For some reason, I prefer to always have a hat on. Typically, if I'm not in the gym, then I'll have a baseball hat on. It's not common to see me running around with my bare bald head. In the gym, it just makes better sense for me to wear a stocking hat or a skull hat, because if I lean back on a bench or I'm doing specific exercises, either the bill will get in the way or it'll end up falling off of my head anyway and onto the floor halfway through a set. Whatever. Stocking hats just work for me. So deal with it. Okay, we're moving into a variation of side laterals, and I understand that it looks more like a rear delt to most of you, like a bent over lateral. But if you're doing bent over laterals this way, you're doing them wrong anyway, because you're not bent over enough. This is still a side delt movement. It does depend on the angle of pull, I will agree with that, but I tend to kick the dumbbells out to the side as much as possible. Again, focusing more on that side delt, but towards the back of the side delt. These days, that's where I'm trying to focus a lot of my side delt or delt attention to help fill out what have always been genetically weak shoulders or a genetically weak shoulder structure. Obviously, there's going to be some rear delt involvement in there, even bent over to this angle, and I get that. But the side delt is still the prime mover. Because of this angle, never really going to truly get full reps. It's just not going to happen. So I focus less on a peak contraction during this exercise and more on fluid repetitions. Notice we have the classic shot of Dorian circa early 90s on the wall at the end of the gym. If you live in this area, anywhere around the Denver metro area, and you compete, this is the place to be, no question. When I'm not doing behind the neck shoulder presses, I like to use a little bit of a variation as far as a dumbbell push press. I don't do big weights. Again, it's more of a pre-exhaust because I've done a lot of side delt work, a lot of side delt isolation work prior to finishing with some kind of press. I don't know if you can tell from this angle, but I'm trying to push up and back to try to still get that feel similar to a behind the neck press as opposed to a military press. I don't want to focus on my front delts. I get enough front delt activity or involvement when I train chest, especially training it twice a week. If I start hitting or hammering front delts on delt day, they will quickly become overtrained. This is a better angle here as I push back, trying to keep the side delts engaged and using them as the prime mover. The cool thing about doing push presses, either with dumbbells or with a free weight barbell, is you get a lot of shoulder stabilization work from the other heads of the delts, along with the side delt being the main focus or the prime mover. For a finish exercise here, I'm just going with seated partials. Going a little bit heavier and just working that bottom quarter, maybe bottom third. I think it starts off as a third and it goes down to about a 16th as far as range of motion, the more fatigued I get. Mrs. Skip's partials are a little bit higher. They're almost regular side laterals, or regular for most people in the gym. There's your 1/3, and we'll watch that 1/3 diminish to about 1/8 by the end of the set. Only focused on partials. One of the benefits of doing side laterals from a partial standpoint is it removes a lot of the trap work that typically happens at the top or the top end of a side lateral movement. All right, we're moving into triceps. Even in the off season, you guys know that I prefer the neutral grip and dumbbell extensions. It's something I've come to in the last couple of years that I've gotten a lot of good results from. So we're going to do them today on a decline.
Behind you, big guy.
Moving to this decline angle allows for a pretty nice peak contraction at the top of this movement. I would compare it to kind of the same feeling as a rope cable extension if done correctly, or a rope cable press down would be a better example, I think. Most everything I wear is Elite FTS apparel. If you haven't noticed by now, my shirts either say train, they say hard, they say Elite FTS. Something associated with Elite FTS. I've written for them and been a columnist and coach for over 4 years now. I use all their products, endorse all their products. Shirts, bags, pants, sweats, you name it. My training partner, our training partner, I guess I should clarify, Dr. Jake, chiropractor, adjusts Melissa once a week, has saved her neck pain, done wonders for her. I don't see him because I have my own chiropractor that I refuse to switch. But if anything happens to my chiropractor, I'll be going to Dr. J.
More water. Good.
I have to be very careful getting up out of this decline position. Dr. Jake is actually standing there because he's waiting for my set to get done, and he'll actually help get me up. Because of my lower back pain, my lower back chronic issues over the years, even though I can get out of that position myself, I'm not going to do something stupid or foolish and screw my back up while I'm simply trying to get out of a decline position. Moving on to the dip machine, I'm going to be honest, I typically don't use this piece of equipment. I was using it today because someone was sitting on the other piece of equipment that I wanted on their telephone and kind of farting around, which typically doesn't happen at Armbrust Pro. But I wasn't in the mood to say anything, so I moved on to this piece. The only negative critique that I have about this piece is because it is unilateral or isolateral, it is really hard to balance out and to keep even left to right. If it were fixed, like a lot of the hammer strength dip machines are, which I prefer if I'm being honest, then I would have liked the piece a little bit more. I did a couple sets here, didn't do them real heavy, tried to get a good squeeze out of them, and probably will never come back to this piece again. I'm trying to make these reps as deliberate as possible for the simple fact that I'm trying to balance out the left to the right because it's just so difficult to do. It felt incredibly awkward to the point where I almost stopped using it and just went to another piece. But I stuck it out, dropped the weight down. I was just trying to make these reps as deliberate as possible, emphasizing the top portion and trying to get that contraction or that squeeze. Notice I'm not even seated on the seat. I'm trying to find the groove. I'm trying to find the best feel. I probably got it right on the last set of the exercise. By then, though, it was a little bit too late. Moving on to the piece that I was waiting for and couldn't get on earlier. This is one of my favorites, the Atlantis Overhead Tricep Extension. Just a real good angle, digs into the long head of the triceps. I spoke in the off-season training footage about how it's important for maximum tricep development to really focus the majority of your tricep work on the long head. Chest and shoulder pressing works the outer head, works the medial head pretty hard. You got to dig into that long head that doesn't get hit during those heavy basic compound movements. To do that, the angle of the upper arm to the torso has to be open. Essentially, you need to get the elbows above your head. This machine does that. I don't consider this exercise or this piece of equipment a peak contraction type of exercise. Typically, if I'm doing overhead extensions and trying to hit the long head of my triceps, whether it be with a piece of equipment like this, a cable handle or extension, a dumbbell, 2 dumbbells, whatever, typically going to stay in that stretched position and up about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way, not necessarily finishing at the top. Moving on to biceps. Starting off here with the same machine that we started off with in the off season, quite frankly. Again, focusing on peak contraction, more of the top or contracted part of the curl, which is what I was focusing on in the off season, and I continue to focus on into my prep. Obviously, you still get a stretch on this piece of equipment, but the primary focus is on the contracted position, and that's where most of the stress is. As I noted in the off-season training, this is not an exercise or a piece of equipment that you need to go heavy on. It's far more important that the reps are deliberate and that you're finishing each repetition with a good controlled contraction. You can leave the heavy stuff for dumbbell curls, barbell curls, that sort of thing. We're pushing 10 o'clock at the Armbrust Pro Gym, and you can tell that the crowd thins out quite a bit. This place is slamming from 3 o'clock until about 7:30, maybe 8. So it's quite convenient for someone like myself who tends to roll up and start working out approximately 8 o'clock at night, no matter what gym I'm training in. The crowds have started to thin a little bit typically, even early in the week. Mondays and Tuesdays. But you get to the end of the week and there's nobody in there. It's kind of nice. If I had my way, I would train when there's absolutely nobody in the gym at maybe 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but my schedule does not allow for that. You're going to notice from this angle too, I'm not cutting any of this range of motion short. I'm not cutting the extension short. There are very few exercises that I don't go full range of motion on, and if I don't, there's always a good reason. Whether I feel that that particular exercise is more beneficial in a shorter range of motion, which isn't common, but there's a couple of them, like a dumbbell press on occasion, that sort of thing. Otherwise, it's full range of motion, it's full stretch and full squeeze. This keeps mobility, this keeps flexibility. You don't end up getting tight, because when you get tight, you run more of a risk of being injured. Until about a year ago, I hadn't done incline dumbbell curls in about 25 years. I never really liked them because they were so limiting when it came to poundage. Had to use such small dumbbells. You can see here, I think I'm holding 20s or 25s, and they're just killing my biceps. But this is another exercise that I came back to, reevaluated, and the stretch in the bottom position and the contraction in the top position is just too good to pass up. I'll get a slight twist at the bottom, just because not twisting them doesn't feel very comfortable. So I give just a little bit, kind of a fluid. I don't hang too long at the bottom, and twisting up for a good squeeze. This is an even better angle of the twist at the bottom. How close is it to 10 o'clock at Armbrust Pro Gym? So close that there's no more music. Last movement here, hammer dumbbell curls. I think it's incredibly important for full arm development to be able to get and make sure that your brachialis is well developed. Of course, a lot of back work can do that as well. Heavy rowing, chins. I still like to hit them as a finisher on occasion. Maybe every third bicep workout, I'll finish with dumbbell hammer curls. I don't go terribly heavy. Very fluid reps, and just burn them out. I've never been short on forearm development anyway. If everything grew like my calves and my forearms, I might be a pro by now. And clearly I'm not.